Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Marketo Account-Based Marketing from Strategy to Launch. My name is Laura, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Just want to let you know right at the beginning, a recording of the presentation will be provided following the webinar. All attendees log in as muted. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. Go ahead and use your questions or chat pane. And we will have time for Q&A after the presentation. But if you have questions that come up throughout the way, go ahead and submit them. Now today, we're going to be talking about everything about Marketo ABM, deciding if it's right for you, as far as implementing how your ABM technology, launching, and analytics. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce your presenters. Andrew Hall is president and founder of Elixiter. Andrew is a veteran of the software as a service space. He served in a wide range of positions at Right Now Technologies, which was acquired by Oracle, overseeing product messaging, web properties, marketing automation, events, and marketing analytics. Andrew leads a team of 45+ Marketo experts at Elixiter focused on best practice implementation and execution in the Marketo platform. Also joining us is Tara Petra, and she's a strategist here at Elixiter. Tara specializes in developing and deploying marketing strategies for our B2B clients with a focus in nurtures, web personalization, and account-based marketing. Tara is also a two-time Marketo champion and has demonstrated outstanding leadership in the Marketo community. And with that, I will hand it over to Andrew. Andrew, take it away.
Thank you, Laura. Welcome, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for carving out 45 minutes of your day today to learn a little bit more about account-based marketing. The first thing I'd like to start off with is just acknowledging the fact that account-based marketing as a concept is just not new. For those of you that have been around in the industry, whether marketing or the technology side for any number of years, we'll know that the concept of targeting and executing against accounts predates most of us, in some cases either years or decades before this. I believe what's really changed for all of us is that the technology available to support our efforts and integrated technology to support our efforts really is the new concept here. So the start to this, and I think the appropriate way to kick off this webinar, is really to ask the question, is ABM really right for you? And on your slide, you're going to see that there's a couple questions you can quickly ask yourself. You know, are you selling business to business, business to education, business to government? You might even be in a situation where your company is doing business to consumer. That works very well as well. And is your product, your solution, or your service a considered purchase? I think that is an important concept as well. And what we mean by this is that it's not just a quick credit card swipe to buy your product, because generally account-based marketing is going to line up better when you have higher value products you're selling. You have multiple stakeholders that might require different levels of approval. And certainly account-based marketing generally lines up with longer sales cycles. Also, is your target market small, or can it be well defined? And we'll talk about that in a moment. Another key flag that would be going off that ABM is probably right for you if your sales team talks in accounts versus people. This also gets back to that credit card swipe. If you're selling a product that a person comes and buys, and you're talking about a person bought something, account-based marketing probably isn't the right thing for you. But if you say, hey, company XYZ is buying a solution from us, again, we're starting to get squarely in the account-based marketing realm. The other one that'll help you, and this is probably a subset of your target market being well defined, is can you actually break it into verticals, geography, product categories? Any of these, if you mentally checked one or more of these, account-based strategy is in your future if it's not already in it process internally at your company. The next item to be well aware of, and I am going to spend a moment defining these, is the difference between a target account strategy that seeks precision, not accuracy. In my history of working both on the marketing and the technology side, I have seen this problem crop up where programs, marketing programs and efforts are very accurate, meaning items number B and D, for example, where you're hitting the same element with that target campaign over and over again, but it's simply not element number A on your screen where you're actually hitting the bullseye every time. That's precision. We really want to go for precision with your efforts. And there's a couple areas that you can think about that before we actually get into the technology, we're actually focusing on option A here, which means not only are we hitting the bullseye every time, but it's the right bullseye. So A is definitely nirvana, and if you think about it in the concept of a target, you're going to do really well. And this flows well into this next slide, and feel free to use this slide, by the way, internally if it helps. But when you think of the concept of a bullseye and articulating that as your account-based target and the attributes, do your attributes around the outside. In this example, you can see there's corporate attributes or firmographics. There's buyer functions. You can see industry types, which is a different type of firmographic, locations. But those attributes around the bullseye could be whatever is important for you and your sales and marketing team. And you can increasingly have conversations with them and actually put pen to paper here and understand what elements are outside your target and which ones are in. And as you get closer and closer to the center of this bullseye, you're going to be going after exactly who you should be marketing. The key here, though, is you've got to do this heavy lifting with sales. So you need to actually sit down and talk with sales. I would recommend looking at closed deals because those are deals that made it all the way across the line internally. You can research your market, or more often than not, for most of you, you're going to be researching your market and making sure that your assumptions about who your target buyer are actually correct. And just as importantly, I would clearly identify the characteristics that are not your ideal buyer. I think a lot of times when myself and Tara and others at Elixiter talk with our clients, you focus so much on who the buyer is. Sometimes knowing who is not the buyer can quickly help you as well. And actually the slide that you still have in front of you helps you articulate who is not the buyer, and that can really help you zero in on things as well. So I would recommend the action item for you is to put pen to paper, map out your target company and buyer, walk around to your organization and see what kind of response you get. And if you're largely getting yes, yes, yeses, you've probably done your job pretty well internally. The next thing I would recommend doing, and the example you see here on this slide is simply just one of many, many corporate strategy type documents you can use. This one happens to be called a OGSM, which stands for Organizational Objectives, Goals, Strategies, and Measurements. I have a link to this if you want to go see a 5-minute video on YouTube on how this is done. But the reason you want to also consider this before you start diving into the technology is you want to have a framework in deciding what is it you're going after. That's the objective. What is it that you need to achieve? And you can have that objective statement. An example of the next one over, like the goal, what is it we need to achieve, but stated in a financial or operational performance measurement would be the goal is to deliver, say, 35% marketing sourced closed deals. That's binary, it's a number, it's got a financial metric to it, and you can generally very clearly understand, did you meet the goal or not meet it? That's the binary aspect. The strategy is what you're going to do to achieve the goal. A lot of people I talk with, and the way I think of strategies is you need to make a choice that you're going to do something or not do something. And these are your programmatic choices, your initiatives to choose to focus on something or another. So in this case, a supporting initiative of your ABM strategy would be to implement a system capable of tracking account-based marketing programs. And that's what Tara's going to talk about in a second. So the strategy is we're going to implement an account-based program. The initiative is implementing a system capable of tracking it. So that's the example there. And then lastly, this is one more binary thing that's a number, which is the measurements. And this is the way you can break it down by month or quarter that you're tracking towards your initiative and your strategy. So an example of measurements could be one, that a target list is defined and approved between sales and marketing. That's still binary. You either made the account list with them or you didn't. A number two measurement in our concept here could be 10% engagement of target accounts in Q1, 10% in Q2, and 20% in Q3, for example. That's a binary measurement that allows us to understand if the initiative is working, supporting the strategy, and that the strategy is supporting the goal and the objective. So you can see how this all flows through. The big takeaway here for everyone is I would recommend using a strategic planning tool like this, not only just for your ABM efforts, but really thinking about your overall marketing objectives for the year too. And again, this is just one. There's many different successful organizational strategy approaches and documents. I would just recommend choosing one and making sure that everybody's thinking about your programs in the same way. And then the last concept to think about before we hand it over to Tara and having her getting into more of the ins and outs of account-based marketing as it pertains to Marketo and the Marketo engagement platform is don't forget the basics around people, process, and technology. People, we know that you and your entire marketing team need to be engaged. We want to make sure that sales is engaged, especially with account-based marketing initiatives, because they're talking in account-based language, and we need to make sure that we're supporting them and that they agree on who and what are the accounts that we're going after. So that's really important. And then having executives on board is important as well, because we're going to be reporting these metrics and initiatives up to your executives. And in many cases for your companies, this is information that's going to go to your board as well. The next one around process is, in order for tools to work and platforms like Marketo, you do need to think about the process. And that's what I covered just a few moments ago. Things like an organizational goals and strategies document, the process of actually sitting down and defining who it is you're going after and having those documents in place. That process is really important before you jump into the technology. And then lastly, it's the technology, and that's really the unique new entrant into this equation is the help of the technology. And again, I'm probably dating myself a little bit because I remember years and years running marketing programs where the technology was not always friendly for us and to execute really well focused account-based marketing programs. And there was all sorts of manual work around marking accounts and manually going back in the sales automation systems and trying to mark which was a target account and not. The great news is we've made light years of progress on the technology side, and it's better than it's ever been to support ABM efforts. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tara and let her start digging into the implementation and the launching of an account-based marketing program in the context of Marketo.
Great, thank you, Andrew. So we've already covered today determining if an account-based marketing strategy is right for you. We've learned how to define your account strategy. We have worked to understand the strategy framework, and next we'll be going over implementing your account-based marketing technology, technical target account identification, segmenting your accounts into tiers or target account lists, marketing to your target accounts from within the Marketo platform, and then quick analytics to determine if this has been a successful initiative for you. All right, so first we're going to take a look at our ABM roadmap. A lot of this is a recap from what Andrew has said, which is that in phase one, we really need to create organizational alignment. We need all teams to be aligned. Marketing should be aligned to sales, and also product and finance should both be involved and should be aligned as well. This is really helpful in several capacities, one of which is that we are able to make sure that we have buy-in from the beginning. The other is that we're able to potentially share the budget of that initiative. So since this process does impact sales, finance, marketing, and product, we should get as many key players in the room as possible. Once we've got everyone on board, we should go ahead and identify our primary objectives for engaging in an account-based marketing strategy. These objectives may be that we want to accelerate the sales cycle, maybe we want to increase the average deal size or increase conversion rates at key stages. Whatever they may be, we recommend aligning the teams on those primary objectives and making sure that the goals for ABM are aligned to your departmental and organizational goals. Here, you can also start evaluating account-based marketing technologies and solutions. So we'll be reviewing the Marketo ABM solution with you today, but this is really to illustrate that this strategy conversation should be happening up front before you're actually purchasing a platform. If you already have a platform, that's great too. We just like to loop back on the strategy piece and make sure that there's alignment there. Phase two, once you have organizational alignment and objectives defined, that is when we start to define your target account identification strategy, your channel strategy for how you plan to engage those target accounts, and a content personalization strategy for how you plan to personalize your content throughout those channels for those target accounts. We also developed a reporting strategy and KPIs that are going to help us understand if we are meeting our objectives. And we can start to establish a baseline here. So what are our benchmarks? What are our conversion rates today? What's our average deal size today? And then we can use that to metric upon in phase three when we start to analyze performance. In phase two, you'll also be refining your options for an account-based marketing technology. There are a lot of platforms out there. So this is when you should start to have a short list of the technologies that you'll be considering for purchase in phase three. As we mentioned, in phase three, you'll be analyzing performance, optimizing your strategies based on analyses, and maintaining your target account list. So really putting somebody in charge of maintaining what that account list looks like and making sure that it's updated over time. So next, we're going to go into a demo where we will cover the technical target identification, segmenting your accounts into tiers, and marketing to your target account. All right, so we're going to start out here. This is your My Marketo screen. This should look pretty familiar. From here, you can access Marketo's account-based marketing platform in any of these two ways. You can click into the account-based marketing tile or access Marketo ABM from your Powerball. This will only appear once you're licensed for the platform, so do keep that in mind and reach out to your Marketo account executive if you're looking to get licensed for that. Once you click into Marketo's ABM platform, you'll find yourself here at the dashboard. This dashboard gives you a high-level overview of your top named accounts by pipeline, which you can then put into any other view, including your different account list views. We'll go into account list here in a moment. So we see that Bob Ross is our #1 named account by pipeline. Across all of our named accounts, we see that there are a total of 370. We see that there are 67 open opportunities across those 370 named accounts. And in those 67 open opportunities, there's a total of $16.1 million in pipeline. You can then click into any of these named accounts, and you'll see more information over here on that account. We see that Bob Ross is in the 100th percentile for account score. We have 1 person on the account, and we have 2 open opportunities. We can also see from this screen email activity for the past 30 days. In this case, this instance is hooked up to the sandbox. Our #1 prospect is not Bob Ross. so that's why you're not seeing a lot of days there. All right, and if you go ahead and click into more details on the account, you'll be taken into a new screen where you can see a dashboard for that account specifically. So again, you see a lot of the same information we saw on the last screen, but you'll also be able to view account performance over time by the account score, by pipeline, or by revenue. You can also see that account activity being email activity and web activity for the past 30 days. And then you would also see a list of top people here on the account based on priority or a series of score fields that you could select here. All right, and then you can click into opportunities. So you can see the total opportunities on the account, the amount of those opportunities based on the stage and the likelihood of closing. You'll also see expected revenue. When you click into potential people, you may notice a list of people appearing here. These people are not necessarily associated to the account, but there is an inferred association. And the way this works is Marketo leverages fuzzy logic to determine if there are potential people on an account by looking at the company domain, the inferred company, and the company name. So Marketo will look to all of those three pieces for you and try to give you some hints on some people who might be in your database who aren't explicitly associated to the account. You can also see where your accounts are being used. In this case, we are leveraging this account through a smart list in Marketo, which we'll view here in a moment. And you can also see your account team. So this is a functionality that can be configured in the admin section of Marketo, and we will review that here in just a moment. So that's your dashboard and how you would explore the dashboard from within Marketo ABM. Next, we're going to go into named accounts. So when you click into named accounts, you will be able to see a list of accounts here. These accounts can be filtered by here. There we go. All right, these accounts can be filtered by a number of different data points, including account owner, industry, country, revenue, and employees. You can add or remove some filters here. You could also drag on open opportunities, pipeline, member of account team, not a member of an account list, or member of an account list. All right. Now, what we can do here is we can discover CRM accounts, we can discover Marketo companies, we can import a named accounts list, or we can create a named account. Creating a named account is a lot like creating a net new lead in the lead database. Importing the named accounts list is very similar to importing a list into the lead database, so we're going to focus on the two more robust processes here, which are discovering CRM accounts and discovering Marketo companies. So we're going to start out here with discovering Marketo companies. These are not necessarily accounts in your CRM system, but these are companies that we are able to identify from the Marketo side. So we can filter using a number of different filters here. These will vary from Salesforce to Marketo. So you'll notice that when we go to discover Salesforce accounts, this will look slightly different. But on the Marketo side, you can filter by industry, country, revenue, and employees. If we select an account and we choose to identify it as a named account, we'll then find ourselves at this screen where we have to name the account. From here, you can add this account to any of these other existing accounts if you feel that it may be a duplicate, or you can create a new account. So in this case, we're going to call it Company XYZ, and we'll see that that is in fact a new account. We can preview this before creation and go ahead and get that account created. All right. Now let's go over the process for discovering a CRM account. So very similar process here. Since this is a sandbox instance, we don't have a ton of accounts thinking over, but we'll go ahead and select Elixiter. If we wanted to filter down further, we could select an account owner, an industry, or a combination of different industries, countries, revenue, employees, and those are all the filters that we have available to us from this view. We could then apply those filters and we would see this list whittled down. So this process is very similar, but a little bit different in the sense that really it's just a preview process. You don't have to go through the process of naming that account. And success. So now we've gone through the dashboard, named account, identifying a new CRM account, identifying a new company from Marketo. And so next we will go ahead and go into account lists. All right. So we have created a number of account lists in the sandbox here for demo purposes. These would be unique to your business. In this case, we decided to go with tier 1, 2, and 3 for upsell and, for prospect and cross-sell. And then we have another list here, premium and gold SLA customers. The way that you would group your accounts is by one, working with sales and potentially using a predictive platform to get your list of accounts. And then you really have to work to prioritize those. So understanding which accounts are most likely to convert, which is the strongest match, and having those as your tier 1 accounts. That's typically a really small list. Tier 2 is a bit larger of a list. It may be industry specific. They may be kind of the number 2 accounts that sales has expressed that they are going after this quarter. But this is going to be different for every business. All right, so we can go ahead and add a named account to a list here by going to our named accounts, selecting one of these named accounts. Go ahead and select default here. I can add them to any of those account lists. We'll go ahead and go with tier 1 prospect. And we should now have default added to our tier 1 prospect list. So that is how you review your dashboard, your named account, your account list, and how you add named accounts to those account lists. So next we're going to go into Marketo's admin settings. So you'll see here that we are in the admin section of the sandbox instance. You'll notice that you have a new option here in your menu called ABM. This will only become available when you are licensed for the account-based marketing platform. So again, if you're not seeing this and this is something that you want to get enabled in your instance, just reach out to your Marketo representative. Here you'll see a few different settings. So we have account score, account team, and weekly reports. Account score is a really great feature in Marketo that allows you to sum all of the scores on the individuals of that account to create the account score. This can be configured here. So you can select any number of scores. In this case, we have selected lead score. However, we do caution that if you are using the account score, you select a person score or a lead score that isn't really heavily relying on firmographic data, because you can unintentionally and exponentially inflate that account score for accounts that you have a larger number of people on. So just something to be aware of there. You can also go into account team settings. If you pick a CRM field here, you can assign it an account role, and that will appear in the section of, and that will, that will appear in the named account view. So you'll be able to see all the different people on that account. Next, you'll see your weekly report. The weekly report can be sent on any day of the week. You can sort it by account score, and then you can send that to all account owners. So instead of having to answer the one-off questions as far as how do my target accounts look, you can send these in an automated fashion. All right, and then next we're going to go into how you can market to your target accounts using the Marketo ABM platform. So here we're in marketing activities, and we've got a couple of different examples. The first one that I'm going to go into is a CIO roundtable. So here's an example where we want to focus on target accounts specifically CIOs, in our Tier 1 account list. Here's an example of how we could use Marketo's account-based marketing platform and the triggers and filters that become available to you when licensed for that platform to refine your target account, or excuse me, your target market for this event. So here we can say that we want only Tier 1 accounts, and we want only Tier 1 accounts who also have the job title of CIO. From there, we can invite these team members to this event and can measure the performance of our target account campaigns independently from our general campaigns. Another example of that is the Tier 1 prospect nurture example we've created here. This is a situation where you may have early, mid, and late stage content, but you really want to have a separate engagement program for your top accounts so that you can measure on their performance differently and provide hyper-personalized and potentially much more valuable offers to this group who you believe is more likely to convert into a customer. So we are targeting all of our Tier 1 prospects and anybody who's not in them or who is in our marketable list, and we can break them up into a prospect nurture by stage. So we can send early stage Tier 1 prospects into an early stream, mid stage into a mid stream, and late into a late stream. All right. Give us just one moment here while we get back into the PowerPoint. All right, and here we are. So back to reporting. There are a lot of different things that you can report on when it comes to ABM. We do recommend making these aligned to your organizational goals and the goals that you and your internal stakeholders have defined for your ABM initiative. These might include measuring pipeline and revenue, velocity, the impact to the average deal size, engagement, identifying those top performing programs and replicating that in the future. And then, of course, you would adjust, and based on those results, you would be able to continue to improve performance as it relates to your target account. So here are some questions that you might get around your account-based marketing effort, and here's how you might be able to answer those questions. You may hear, how has ABM influenced pipeline and revenue compared to other marketing efforts? Ideally, you wouldn't be receiving these questions because you would have dashboards that are visible to all of the key stakeholders, and you have one source of the truth. But let's say you just have somebody who's curious in the organization of how this is going. You can implement account-based marketing tags to track the influence on pipeline and revenue, and you can track that against those benchmarks that you would have defined in what we called phase 2 earlier. Others may be interested to know, has ABM shortened the sales cycle? Here you can benchmark the sales cycle prior to launching account-based marketing, and then you can compare that sales cycle duration for target accounts against targeted opportunities in the past. What I would caution here is that if you are evaluating target account sales cycle to non-target account sales cycle, that you make sure that those deals are of the same caliber, and because as most of you probably know, the higher the average contract value, the longer the sales cycle. Some people may want to know, has this increased our deal size? So here you can also analyze your closed won opportunities by opportunity type and then compare this to the post-ABM implementation. You may also want to know which programs are top performers for named accounts specifically, and Marketo's tags are going to allow you to get a good view into that, and then you can analyze each program using that tag in Marketo's RCE. Some people may want to be able to track engagement in each target account, and so you can go ahead and do this using a number of different elements. You can use the reporting that you send out through admin, which we looked at earlier, and you can also pull lead-specific reports for target accounts. And then where should marketing focus their ABM efforts? This is a really common question, and we recommend that all of our clients and all of you analyze the success of each channel and program for named accounts specifically and make adjustments to those channels as needed. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Andrew.
Great. Thank you, Tara. I appreciate all the detail you went into. I have the other phone muted here really quick. Okay. And so there are a few required foundational elements that you're going to want to keep in mind because we do get this question. In our case, you all are on the phone here with the context of Marketo, so this makes it a little easier. You are going to obviously need Marketo's engagement platform. Tara mentioned you would need to talk with your sales rep about the ABM component of that platform, and ideally also a CRM system. We do engage with clients that don't necessarily have Marketo directly integrated to another system, but in 90+% of the situations, that is going to be helpful to answer those closed loop questions all the way down to the influence on pipeline and everything going down to the closed deal. So not a lot of requirements here, but you do need to have those couple of systems in place. And with that short little close, I'm just making sure everybody knows what they would need in order to follow our advice on the strategy side and a quick demo on the ABM side, which I hope most of you leave realizing that the actual ABM components and running and managing and tagging and reporting on that in Marketo is actually a pretty straightforward process as long as you've done your homework on who it is and how you're going to go reach out to those account-based targeted lists. I would just wanted to reiterate the technology is really caught up with all of us marketers, and it's here really to help support us and help enable us to go initiate programs. And I think before we open it up to final questions, that is one of the elements I really personally like about the ABM component in Marketo is that smart list area that Tara showed, because it actually allows you the action. You identify who the account-based target is, the account-based marketing, and you're able to actually take action on it in Marketo via the smart list and the filters. You're actually able to send them into the appropriate engagement flows, for example. And I just think that one element cannot be understated with how this is an integrated, seamless part of the overall engagement platform. So with that, Laura, let's open it up to questions, because I know we've held them the entire part of the webinar to this point. So why don't you gather a few of the questions that have come in and direct it to either Tara or myself.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. So the first question I'm going to direct to Tara. And the question is Revenue Cycle Explorer needed to report on ABM initiatives?
Yeah, that's a great question. So while we do recommend an advanced reporting tool, it doesn't necessarily have to be Revenue Cycle Explorer. We do lead with that because it's kind of an all-in-one platform approach, and it really does simplify things. Not to mention, they add a great dimension to RCE once you become licensed to the account-based marketing platform. But as long as you have some kind of an advanced reporting solution in place to track your impact to revenue, to pipeline, to volume, velocity, and conversion, then you should be all set for being able to demonstrate the value of your ABM solution.
Great, thanks, Tara. Andrew, I'll direct this one to you. What Marketo pieces should one think about cleaning up before implementing ABM?
So it's a good question too, because we really started at the element of the strategy and then moving forward, and Tara showed the one slide with our 1, 2, 3 steps on the roadmap. But data standardization is a big item, and we've done webinars in the past just around this topic. It basically is the bane of all of our existence on the marketing side. It's just always a fight, right? That's just the honest truth, whether the data is coming in from a system like Salesforce.com or getting entered via list uploads. It's just an ongoing struggle. But again, just like ABM as a technology, the technology is continuing to get better to support all of us as marketing, whether it's solutions that help standardize the data on entry into your system. Example would be like a reach force, where when the form's submitted, you're able to automatically augment that data. That's an example of helping the data standardization on entry into your system. But there's a lot of ways Marketo can have set up smart lists and smart campaigns that run on an ongoing basis to help keep your data clean as well. And we do a lot of those services for our clients because it really is critical. If you want to be able to accurately look at what's going on in your system, having standardized data is really critical. So that's one element I would really have you look at in your system and see where your strengths are. Because when we talk with clients and see their systems, every client has data strengths. There's just always those elements where you might have 8 out of the 10 things you need, and so you need to go do some data standardization on 2 of those attributes in order to really have mastery of your account-based target list. So that's important. The other one is the ones that you're going to do for everything else: leads, contacts, accounts, merging duplicate accounts. All these things are areas that, the good news, you're going to do them just to be a better marketer anyway. So you can feel that, hey, I'm going to go do this because it's going to make all my campaigns better, my interactions between Marketo and Salesforce or your CRM system better. And guess what? All that effort you put into that is just going to incrementally help you on the ABM side. So the good news is you won't do any of my recommendations in isolation. They're going to be done in the context of what you would do just to be better at all marketing efforts, period.
Thanks, Andrew. And that's actually all the questions that we have. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. This will conclude our session. On behalf of Andrew, Tara, myself, and everyone at Elixiter, we wish you all to have a great day. Thanks.